Tonight is a continuation of our George P. Shultz Lecture Series, held here at the Marines Memorial Club in downtown San Francisco. Mr. Shultz will introduce our speaker for tonight. It's my job to introduce Secretary Shultz. I would like to point out that he's held 4 separate, different cabinet-level posts in our government, including Secretary of Labor, Secretary of Treasury, Director of the Office of Management and Budget, and for 8 years, Secretary of State, where he played a key role in implementing the foreign policy that led to the end of the Cold War. He was awarded the Medal of Freedom in 1989 in recognition of his achievements. He's held teaching positions at 3 of our most distinguished universities in the United States: MIT, the University of Chicago Graduate School of Business, where he served as the Dean, and Stanford University. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming former Secretary of State George P. Shultz.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Thank you. I remember when I took over as Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Mel Aird was Secretary of Defense. So I said to him, Mel, we'll probably have some arguments along the way, but let's get one thing clear. He said, what's that? I said, Mel, what the Commandant wants, the Commandant gets. Got it? We have a great privilege, and I'm looking forward to it eagerly myself, to hear General James Mattis speak to us this evening. He has the Central Command. That means Afghanistan, Iraq, and practically everything in between, including the pirates, I believe, that plague a lot of our activities. So it's a huge, huge responsibility. You've seen in the program the sensational career that he's had, one command after another. He was in the leadership in going into Iraq. He was in the leadership in our original mission into Afghanistan. I might say both of those were executed, at least in my opinion, with brilliance. So it's a huge set of responsibilities he's had and now has, and he's going to talk to us about them. So it's a great pleasure for me and a privilege for me to introduce this wonderful man leading our forces in the Central Command, General James Mattis.
Thank you very much, Secretary Shultz. Certainly the word can be overused, but I think this audience will understand why it's such a great honor to be introduced by a statesman and a World War II Marine like Secretary Shultz. In over 30 years of service in this region, I have never seen it so tumultuous, full of promise, and yet also full of danger. And as the military commander, I'm the sentinel. I'm supposed to watch out for the dangers while recognizing and seizing the opportunities for keeping peace wherever possible. I'd like to speak first about the Arab awakening. I would call it the Arab awakening, not the Arab Spring, and how we craft a policy. How do we adapt to these changes right now, adapt to the changing times, keep hold of our values, our American values, consistent policy that matches those values, but balanced with pragmatism, because your military serves our foreign policy, and foreign policy must deal with reality in a world that does not always comport to what we would like it to be. And I'm also charged with the readiness of our forces and for crafting the military options for the President, and you all understand that part of the job, I'm sure. When I meet with foreign leaders in the Mideast today, I cite 4 diplomatic pillars for our approach to a region that's in transition. And it's a region, I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that will never go back to what it was a year ago. 4 pillars that we frame our diplomatic approach within. First, we support each country's political reform efforts to adapt at their own pace. The Middle East is not one thing. Every country is very different. It's a very diverse area, and each country is going to have to adapt to these changing times with its own special formula. It cannot be imparted from the outside. There's not one size fits all in the Middle East. But the first thing is our country supports those reform efforts so that people have more of a say in their government. Second, we support economic reforms that broaden the fruits of the economic boon many of the countries are having. More people have to feel hope as a result of the economic situation. It can't be constrained to just a few. And there's a fair amount of good things going on with that. There's also a lot of states in flux right now where they're not even close to doing this. Third, we support a renewed pursuit of Middle East peace. The status quo right now, ladies and gentlemen, is not sustainable. It's a flame that keeps the pot boiling to some degree in the Middle East, and I'll just tell you that we have got to take advantage of this time now and try to move Middle East peace forward, and that's one of the four pillars of the American foreign policy as we adapt to the changing times. Fourth, we support regional security. By that I mean we stand by our friends, old friends, new friends. We stand by them. We stand by their territorial integrity, and we stand against terrorism. I thought what I'd do is lightly tour around the region, touch on a few of the countries that would perhaps give a deeper understanding. And I want to start with Egypt because it's the most critical country for setting the Arab Spring on a positive path. Why do I say that? It's got a traditional leadership role in Cairo that goes back over hundreds, thousands of years, and also over 25, perhaps 30% of the Arab population lives in Egypt. We have very close military-to-military ties that I spoke to earlier between the U.S. leadership and their military leadership, and they will, I assure you, conduct the elections coming up soon. Moving up the Mediterranean coast, talk about Lebanon for just a moment. They're putting together, as you're aware, probably a new government. It's home, that country is home to one of the most well-armed non-state organizations in the world. You know it as Lebanese Hezbollah. And in Lebanon, the U.S. military works with the Lebanese armed forces. It's the only multi-confessional organization that's trusted in the country. And we do so for a very straightforward reason, to offset Lebanese Hezbollah's influence. And why are we out to do that? Because the Iranian-backed Lebanese Hezbollah fomented the fall of the former prime minister. Lebanese Hezbollah has its officers implicated by the UN Special Tribunal in the assassination of Harari's father, the former prime minister's father. And Lebanese Hezbollah is armed and trained by Iran's Quds Force. They're special forces that export terrorism. So that's why we stay engaged with Lebanon. It's not perfect. As you know, there are very tough tensions between Israel and Lebanon, but we don't want to walk out and leave a vacuum there. Vacuums are often not filled by very pleasant things. Al-Qaeda in Iraq still exists, but it's been pummeled. It's still capable of spectacular attacks. During the holy month of Ramadan, on the 15th day here last week, we saw Al-Qaeda concentrate again their killing on the Shia parts of Iraq, and they killed or wounded over 300 people in one day. They're still dangerous. They still go after the innocent. They go after women, children. They have no regard for any of the rules of warfare. Our mission there is to disrupt, dismantle, and defeat Al-Qaeda. And that remains our goal. And to prevent Al-Qaeda from returning. Remember that part. Some people forget that last part of the mission statement. Prevent them from returning to Pakistan or Afghanistan. In the military, our job is to defeat the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, the Taliban being the ones who took in Al-Qaeda and embraced them, and defeat their hope for victory. And by the way, Iran is not helpful in this, providing new weapon systems, long-range rockets and all. But our job in the military is to set conditions for reconciliation and reintegration. All wars eventually come to an end. Our job is to try and end it as soon as possible. Reconciliation is top-down. That's where we work with the leadership of the Taliban and we find which ones perhaps aren't so committed, and that's Afghan-led. Pakistan's involved, and we're working reconciliation. From bottom up, you have reintegration. This is where you convince young fighters that they're on the wrong side. And we've got any number of efforts going on, not just lethal operations, but propaganda operations. We've got infiltration of our ideas into their midst as we get them to change their mind. For example, right now over 1,700 of the enemy have come over to our side. Again, people don't join the losing side. It's not in their nature. There is a nation that is intimately tied to this whole thing, and that's Pakistan. It's a difficult relationship between the United States and Pakistan. It's one of paramount importance, but it's had a very checkered past. There's been disappointments on both sides. Pakistan has lost more troops fighting these terrorists than all of NATO combined. It's something that doesn't make our news. They have had over 30,000 of their civilians killed or wounded in terrorist attacks. Remember, we had around 3,000 on 9/11. They've had over 30,000 in their country. We will continue to work with Pakistan to reduce the safe havens. I will tell you that in 40 years of wearing this uniform, I have never been in more difficult terrain in my life than the border region between Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Can you talk a little bit about what has been done in recent years to make our job easier and what remains to be done that would continue to improve our ability technologically to defeat our foes?
Yeah, I mean, we have to have good technology. We have to be at the top of our game in this. It's just that sort of a world. It's not a perfect world. Probably the most radical thing that I've seen in the last 15 years or so is the role of the remote piloted vehicle, the unmanned aerial system, whether it be a drone that's got just a camera on it that allows you to look over the next hill, or it's an armed drone that you can loiter up there for hour after hour waiting until you spot the one enemy you want, as we try every day to avoid ever killing women and children or innocent people. They have given us the capability to do much of this.
Thank you, General Mattis. That was terrific. Thank you so much.